Paragold is the destination for luxury home. We've brought the world's best design brands together in one place. From traditional to modern, indoors to out, our curated selection of furnishings and home improvements transforms every space. Get inspired with our go-to edits, featuring expert styling tips and exclusive designer shops, where trusted tastemakers pick products they love. With fast, free, full-service delivery on most items, we make it easy to bring your vision to life. Ready for extraordinary? Shop now on Paragold.com.
Step into the freedom of summer with jewelry that reflects who you are and where you're going. From sunrise to sunset, Pandora jewelry transports you to paradise. No passport required. Think of things like ocean charms, colorful tennis bracelets. You can shop all of these new arrivals to add to your summer staples. Be unmissable and vacation ready. Feel it, live it, embrace it, be love. Shop in-store or online at pandora.net to discover new styles. Once you have that concept of who it is you want to be, I want to share this one thing that will, I think, help you get there almost faster than anything else I can think of. And for clarity, it does not matter what the vision is. It doesn't matter if the vision is like, I want to be the world's greatest stay-at-home dad. It doesn't matter if the vision is, I want $1 billion company. It doesn't matter if the vision is, I want to start a nonprofit to rescue weenie dogs. It doesn't matter what it is you're trying to achieve. This one thing, I think, makes the biggest difference. This one thing allows you to act as if, but how? How do you act as if you've never experienced that future self before? How do you know what to do? I got a good idea. Hey guys, it's Rach. Welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you're here with us today. And I have a favor, which sounds kind of harsh if we just met, but I'm assuming that most of you have been a part of this community for a hot minute. And so I gotta ask, are you subscribed to the podcast? Subscribing to the podcast you listen to regularly is one of the best things that you can do for hosts like me. It helps to support the show and the staff that works on it. It ensures that you never miss an episode when we drop a new one. And here's the cool thing about subscribing. If you do it and then you hate this show, just unsubscribe. It's one click away. In the meantime, if you're listening, we would so appreciate it if you would just tap that button and make it official. Hi guys, it's Rach. Welcome to another episode of the show. It's Wednesday morning if you are listening to this in real time, and I hope that you are. I hope that this show and our new rhythm and routine feels like a really good way for you to begin each day. If you can't see this, if you're not watching it on YouTube, a really pretty blouse. And I'm in a really pretty blouse that my husband got me for Mother's Day. And this is the first time that I've worn it. And this is the first time that I've worn it because, as you all know, the saga of me living in a remodel, I'm not really sure where all of my clothes are at the moment. But I'm realizing that because I only have a limited amount of clothes, I feel like I'm being very creative with the clothes that I have. And I feel like I'm wearing stuff I wouldn't normally wear. And I was wondering this morning, because our closet is much smaller in this house than the last house we were in. I was wondering if this is my time to do a capsule wardrobe. Like, is this my capsule wardrobe moment? I'm not sure, but maybe. And if I'm going to do a capsule wardrobe, I'm going to have to watch some YouTube videos. But like, how do you edit down? Because my natural gravitate to it is probably going to be a bunch of solid. I don't really love a print. I have an occasional moment like this I want to keep in the mix. So I need to figure that out. Do people have capsule wardrobes? Do you box up some things and put them and then trade out? Or capsule wardrobe is legit, you're editing down to 5 things. I'm going to do some research. I'll let you guys know. Speaking of YouTube, If you are joining us on YouTube, thank you for being here. And this is the moment where I'm supposed to tell you to subscribe and like this video, and maybe you'll see more of them as we post them every single day. If you're listening to this podcast in audio only and you're like, Rachel, where is this YouTube video? We're about a week delayed. So for right now, we're recording these pretty close to real time, and then the editing team is working on them. So if you are listening to this audio in real time, the video that has like fun graphics and B-roll and like Monday's episode is really fun. Jack edited that himself, so you know it's like the best of the best. Those will be up about a week later. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel or check it out a week from now, and let's see what happens. Today I wanted to talk about this hack that really freaking works to change your life, to allow you to embody the person that you want to become. I assume that most of you are like, oh geez, you've been here with me forever, but just in case you're new, let me talk to you a little bit about this concept of future you. I think there are different kinds of people. In fact, I think there are three different kinds of people. There are people who live in the past. They focus completely on what has happened, good or bad. They kind of cling to those old memories. They cling to the idea of the good old days, like back when it was better. Or there are people who cling to past traumas, to past pain points. They hold on to those things that were really painful. They are constantly in this loop of remembering over and over again what happened with their parents, what happened with their ex, what happened when they were children. And trauma does that to us. It traps us oftentimes at the age we were when those things happened. But there are people who almost live entirely in the past. They might be physically present in this moment, but in their head, they're constantly living in the past, and they're constantly seeing their present reality through the lens of what has already happened. Like everything in their life is about what has already happened. So those are people who live in the past. Then there are, I think, sort of the rare few, my husband is one of these people, who live in the present. They're incredibly present where they are. They're not really thinking about the past. They don't really dream big dreams about the future. They go with the flow. I would say Jack, producer Jack, is the same way, like very present. As a side note, the people I know who are present are the happiest people I know. I don't know more chill or happy people than people who are focused right now, here today. They are present where their feet are. And I think a lot of us, those who work on ourselves and our hearts, like our goal is to be more present, right? Especially if you have family and friends, you want to be present in this space. You want to enjoy these moments. And I do work on that. But then there's a third kind of person, which is where I naturally gravitate to. I am future focused. I am always thinking about what comes next. I'm always planning and dreaming and what if this and what if that? Like I'm constantly in the future because my mindset is always kind of thinking about what comes next. I have really, I think, been able to plot a lot of points in my life. I've been able to map the road to where I want to get to. I've been able to achieve a lot of career success because I was able to go like, okay, this is where it is that I'm aiming at. And then I would just get really excited using my imagination to figure out what that future version of me looked like. What does she act like? What does she dress like? What is her office like? Where does she go on dates with her husband? Where does she go on vacation? Like who are her friends? I get really, really, really hyper focused on all the things that are going to be manifest in my life when I get to a certain point. I have done a lot of work, and if y'all have hung out with me for a while, you know about this work. This is what Start Today Journal was all about. It was all about envisioning the version of yourself 10 years in the future and then kind of backing up to where you are today and figuring out the roadmap to get there. So I love this concept of future you. I love this concept of what are the things that are kind of pulling us into the next step of our life? How do we get unstuck? How do we leave that crossroads, that space of indecision, and take steps in the direction of the person that we want to become? So that's future you. That's what I'm talking about when I say this. And I suppose in order for my special hack to work for you today, my trick, my magic trick that I'm going to share, you have to have some idea of where it is you are trying to get to. Now, the thing that I learned inside of 2020, so after a decade of entirely focusing on where I wanted to go, I found myself, like all of us, inside of lockdown. And the idea of imagining 10 years in the future felt completely impossible to me because I could barely I was like, when do the kids go back to school? Like, when are we going to be able to go to the grocery store again? It was so like my whole life condensed into this very small space. And the concept of 10 years in the future felt overwhelming. It didn't feel helpful. So the caveat I will add to this message is if I say, who do you want to be 10 years from now? Where do you want to show up in the world? Where do you want to live? What kind of life do you want to have 10 years in the future? If that feels too overwhelming, bring it back. Try 5 years in the future. Where do you want to be 5 years from now? If that feels like too much, okay, where do you want to be on your next big birthday? What do you want life to be like by the time you turn 35 or 50 or 65? Like, where do you want to be at the next big birthday? Chunk it down until you get to a number, even if it's 6 months, where you feel like, okay, I can kind of map out 6 months from now. That doesn't feel like too much. Once you have that concept of who it is you want to be, I want to share this one thing that will, I think, help you get there almost faster than anything else I can think of. And for clarity, it does not matter what the vision is. It doesn't matter if the vision is like, I want to be the world's greatest stay-at-home dad. It doesn't matter if the vision is, I want $1 billion company. It doesn't matter if the vision is, I want to start a nonprofit to rescue weenie dogs. It doesn't matter what it is you are trying to achieve. This one thing, I think, makes the biggest difference. This one thing allows you to act as if you've ever heard this concept, if anyone has ever talked to you about manifesting or law of attraction, or really just the psychology of embodying the person that you want to become, you'll hear this come up over and over and over, that one of the best things that you can do is act as if that has already occurred. Act as if you are already the person. Act as if you are already a successful real estate agent in your hometown. Act as if you are already doing that thing that you are so pumped about doing. But how? How do you act as if you've never experienced that future self before? How do you know what to do? I got a good idea. I'm going to start with how I learned this, and I didn't understand what was happening until years later. And now I am living this again and again, and this is such an easy trick that you guys can steal. Years ago, when I wanted to write my first book, if you don't know this about me, I think I have 10 books at this point. That seems ridiculous that I don't know the answer to that, but something around that. So I've written a lot of books over the last decade, and once upon a time, that was just a dream. That was a vision I had for future me, and I had no real clue how to get there. And I did a couple of things intuitively, but again, I wouldn't have called it that at the time. I just sort of followed what made sense to me, and it really freaking worked. So the first thing that I did was I started to follow online authors. I started to follow authors. So when you think about who do you want to be 10 years from now, there is a person right now living that life. There is everything is on the internet at this point, like literally everything. So whatever it is you are envisioning, it exists. And if it exists, that means that you can go find it and you can glean from that person what they are doing and how they are doing it. So that was the first thing I did. I started following authors online, and I saw what they were doing. The second thing that I needed to do was I needed to actually start writing. And I want to be really clear about this because a lot of people just mentally rehearse over and over and over and over and over, and they think they are working on themselves and they think they are working on the goal. And don't get me wrong, mentally preparing, it really matters. And envisioning that outcome, it really matters. But faith without deeds are dead. Nothing is happening. Too many people are like, no, I'm working on. No, sis, did you write the words? Did you call the potential clients? Did you go on the walk? Did you have the hard conversation with your parents? Because if you didn't actually do any work, then you didn't actually do any work. And it's a hard truth to realize that you think you've been working against your goal and you can't figure out why you haven't made any traction, and you haven't made any traction because you haven't actually done the thing. So I started following those authors and I started writing the words, but here was the first thing that happened that like made something click for me. Visiting South Dakota was always one of my someday things. Like, well, someday I'm going to go see the Dakotas, and someday I'm going to walk through Badlands National Park, and someday I'm going to see Mount Rushmore in person. And then a couple summers ago, I just made someday today, and it was awesome. The kids and I had the most amazing time. We went hiking. We saw Mount Rushmore, which is like shockingly more majestic than you think it would be. We had amazing dinners. We stayed in this awesome log cabin in a national park. It was truly one of our favorite family vacations. And I loved it because it was this great blend of seeing a part of the US I'd never seen before and being outside in nature. So maybe it's time you turn someday into today. See why there's so much South Dakota and so little time. Plan your escape at travelsouthdakota.com. You know how I'm always telling you guys that Thrive Market is so essential for a busy household? Y'all, I had no idea. Now my household is half under construction. There is no kitchen. There is one working bathroom for 6 people. We are in chaos. But I still gotta feed these kids. And it's why I love a subscription service like Thrive Market. Look, it's a healthy grocery store. You can get all of the things you need. You know that anything that's at Thrive is going to be approved and good for your family and not have garbage ingredients. But what I also love is the convenience of having something set up on a schedule so that I know just about the time that we start to run out of things, the replacements show up. I don't have to think about it. So for anyone who has a packed schedule and you're looking for clean, high quality options, this is the answer. New members receive 30% off their first order and a free gift. Go to thrivemarket.com/rach. You want to use that code RACH so you get the goodies and start saving today. They're having a sale right now and it ends on August 31st. I started going to Starbucks and writing at Starbucks. This was back before I understood how delicious locally owned, locally roasted coffee is. The only thing I knew about in terms of a coffee shop, 12 years ago was Starbucks. And in a lot of parts of the world, going to your local Starbucks is like, I think, the coolest thing that you could maybe do. Starbucks is a great option, whatever your version of this would be. But I would go to the local Starbucks and I would write. And I would set a timer. I would always get the same thing. I'd do a shot of espresso. I'd put some gum in my mouth. I'd put on music and I'd start working. But the coolest thing was that I would look around the Starbucks and there were other people there writing too. There were other people there building a business too. There were other people there working on the thing too. So I would go into this environment where people were doing the thing that I wanted to do. Number one, it normalized my behavior. Because you have to remember, back then, nobody believed in it. I've told you guys this before. It's just the absolute truth. My family, my in-laws, my husband at the time, they were like, you want to do what? You're gonna write a book? Okay. And I really had to fight for that time. I really had to fight to get a babysitter. I had to fight to like convince my husband to watch his own children. I had to, we got to do this sometimes. I had to really advocate for myself to get these precious hours like on a Saturday. It wasn't an everyday thing. It was like, I got 2 hours on a Saturday. I'm going to write as fast as possible. But it normalized my behavior because I was around other people who were doing the same thing. So even if I went back home and people thought I was crazy or they thought I was wasting my time, when I went back into that environment with the other writers, I felt like I was on the right path. And it gave me confidence in the dream. If you feel super insecure about the dream, about the vision, get around other people who are doing it. Get around other people and absorb some of their faith. Absorb it through osmosis. You don't even have to talk about it. But if you are in a room with people who are trying to do the same thing, you're like, okay, this isn't so crazy. There are other writers out here who are trying to make a go of it too. I would go to the Starbucks, I would get in that environment. And then remember I told you that I was watching other authors online. And I started to notice through their social media that they would go to conferences. They would go to writers' conferences. Now, these must still exist. I haven't looked in a very long time, but they must still exist. And there were a few that I went to. Colleen Hoover threw one every year. I mean, this is like old school. This is a decade ago before anybody knew who Colleen Hoover was. Slammed. Anybody that far back a fan of Colleen Hoover. But Colleen would throw one every year. RWA, which is the Romance Writers of America, they would throw one every year. There's another one that I'm totally spacing on the name of. But I started to notice that the authors would go to these conferences and I was like, oh, maybe that's something I could do. Maybe I could go to these conferences. And I didn't totally understand what they were. But I looked him up online and I made it a goal. There was one like 9 months later. I made it a goal to go to this conference. And I think the very first one I ever went to, oh Lordy, maybe RWA in New Orleans, maybe. And as a quick side note, a conference about your industry is one of my favorite things that you can do. Make sure it's the right kind of conference. So for that particular one, I was writing fiction back in the day. Romance Writers of America is one of the oldest organizations that have writers get together and talk about writing. They have local chapters where you can meet with people and work on pages. But for their conference, which I hope they still do, they had the coolest thing. If you've read any of my fiction books, you know they all have a love story in them. But what was so cool about RWA is that they would have literally hundreds of writers who would come and talk about writing. There would be agents who would explain to you how the agent-writer process worked. There were FBI agents who would come and explain how to be an FBI agent or a cop. Or I went to a writer's workshop on the anatomy of a wolf. I know that sounds weird, but if you were writing about wolves in your fictional book, or if you were writing about werewolves in your fictional book, or if your lead character was a zoologist, that kind of information was really helpful. And also it was just super fascinating. So they'd have all these authors, but then they'd have all these adjacent experts who would be helpful too. So I went to those conferences and I just ate it up. I loved every freaking second of writers' conferences. And then the coolest thing would happen after all of that programming during the day. You'd go to the bar. You'd go to the bar and there would be 500 authors of various levels of success. There'd be newbies like me. There'd be Nora Roberts in the corner. There'd be E.L. James. There'd be like Colleen. There'd be people who had like achieved crazy, crazy success. And the beautiful thing about a world like that is that people are mostly very welcoming of newbies. Like truly, Nora Roberts was the first person that I met because her girlfriend was there meeting her for a drink. Ruth Langan, shout out. And Ruth sat down by me and was like, hey, are you new? And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I don't know anybody. And she started talking to me. I had no idea who she was or the success that she had had. And she's like, let me introduce you to my friend Nora. And then Nora came and I was like, what is happening right now? And I sat with these two women who had been authors for decades. And they were so kind and so helpful and answered a million questions. And again, if you feel insecure about your dream, but you get around people that are further down the path than you are, it normalizes what you are doing and it gives you courage and it makes you feel more confident and it gives you the language that you need when you talk about what you're doing. I went to a panel at one of those first conferences and I saw the woman who would become my literary agent later, Kevin. I saw her speak and I was like, wow, she's a total badass. I would love to meet her. And years later, when I actually had my first opportunity to pitch for a lit agent, she was the one I reached out to. So I'm telling you guys, something magical happens when you get in spaces with people who are living the life you want to live. Which brings me to my idea for today, my tip for today, my thought for today. There is something really freaking transformative that happens when you are in a space with other people.
I love Saturdays because Saturdays are when we feast. It's when we have our favorite foods, our favorite snacks, and one of our go-tos, I kid you not, is a PB&J. It's so classic. It's so delicious. The PB&J is the OG. It's the greatest of all the sandwiches. And Smucker's fruit spreads are fruity, jammy goodness. If you've got a great nut butter and a great Smucker's jam, oh my gosh, they're sweet, they're smooth. It's all the things I'm here for. I'm actually making myself really hungry. I know it's just jam and nut butter, but somehow it gets the job done every single time. Because no matter how much changes, PB&J is deliciously dependable and classic for a reason. Get Smucker's jam and make the OG PB&J. This is an ad by BetterHelp. These days, it feels like there's advice for everything on the internet, right? Like, here's how you're going to do your routine. Here's a cold plunge. Here's screen detoxes. But how do you actually know when the advice is good? How do you know if it's based on any kind of fact? When it comes to mental health and wellness, it's really important to make sure you are talking to a licensed professional. It's important to make sure you're getting advice from someone who actually knows how to give advice. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, and they've served over 5 million people all over the world. You can join a session with a therapist at the click of a button, and you can switch therapists at any time, which is really important because finding a great therapist is a lot like finding the right partner. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Talk it out with BetterHelp. My listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/Rach. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Rach.
So I went to the gym for the first time in a few weeks. This morning I got up early, woke up a teenager who was very grumpy about waking up in the summer, and had him watch the kids so I could go to the gym before I came to work. You know, all the things that happen when you haven't been to the gym in a few weeks, and I've been moving a ton, so my body is like super inflamed. It's like pretty painful. I'm like, okay, I need to take more magnesium or go in red light therapy or do something. We'll figure it out. Not the point, Rach. The point is that when I walked back into the gym, I was like, oh yeah, this is who I am. I'm the person that goes to the gym. And I don't just go to the gym. I go to the fancy gym. I pay extra money, probably, I don't know, 3, 4 times, 5 times the average gym membership because I want to go to the gym that's fancy. And I want to go to the gym that's fancy because I want to go to the gym and be surrounded by people who take their health very seriously. I want to absorb, again, just like back in the day with that authors conference, I want to absorb the energy of people who are in better shape than me, of people who are pushing themselves harder than I'm pushing myself. I want to be in a space where health is a priority. And if you look around this gym, there are different shapes, there are different sizes, there's every kind of person, but I am telling you, everybody at this gym is taking their health seriously. And I want to be around people like that. So I told y'all I got a new office and I have a private office in a co-working space, but it's like the fancy co-working space. Fancy being the theme today, but it freaking matters. If you can afford fancy, you better pay for fancy. If you can't afford fancy or you're not into it, fine. But if you can afford a nicer, a more elevated experience, I am telling you, getting in those environments does change the way you see yourself. Everyone at this co-working space has the most fabulous outfits on. They're all doing cool stuff. When I walk out to go to the bathroom or to get some coffee or some water, everyone's like, there's like a buzz. There's a vibe here. It is so different than if you go to a place where like the energy is like, ugh, and no one's doing anything cool. And they're like hating their jobs and hating their life. It makes a difference to be here. I swear to you, when I come into this space, I get more work done because I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm with all these people and I'm doing this thing. And the really cool thing about this choice to work here instead of working at home is that I feel like I'm working in a big office with lots of people. Like I feel like I work at a company that has a lot of people, but I don't know any of these people yet. I'm really excited to get a kitchen again because I was like, oh, what if I baked cookies for it? What if, Kez made a sourdough? What if we made friends through baking? That's neither here nor there. My point for you today is, when is the last time you put yourself into an environment with people who are living the life you want to live? When is the last time that you went to the nicer coffee shop, that you went to the better gym, that instead of going and getting fast fashion and buying a couple of crappy t-shirts and those ill-fitting pants from fill in the blank big box store who sells clothing, what if instead of doing that, you saved up the money a little while longer and you went to an actual department store and you bought a piece that you could see yourself having 5 years from now? When's the last time that you made a choice that focused on the future version of yourself and how they would live and how they would shop and how they would eat? When's the last time you did that? To be fair, it would be really easy to listen to me talk about this and think that I mean that you need to spend money. No way. Not at all, actually. When I was a poor, starving student, I moved to Los Angeles at 17. I hadn't even turned 18 yet, but I was living in LA, 18 years old, buying my groceries at the 99-cent store, absolutely zero money, had no money, working multiple jobs, trying to make a life here. My best friend and I used to go to Beverly Hills at 1 o'clock in the morning. Now, I'm sure it must still be the case, but I don't know if it is. But back in the day, this is 20 years ago, Beverly Hills, all the stores on Rodeo Drive and surrounding streets would keep all of their lights on. All of the shops would be lit up, right? Givenchy and Gucci and Ralph Lauren and Cartier and Tiffany's, they would all be lit up. And I never would have had the courage to go there during the day. Now, 20 years later, Beverly Hills is the most touristy spot in the city. But back in the day, it was like Pretty Woman. You would not go there unless you had money. We were too afraid to ever go look at those stores during the day, but we'd go at 1 o'clock in the morning when nobody was around and we'd walk the streets. And I would look into the windows and I would window shop and I would just imagine the day where I could walk through Beverly Hills and walk into any store and buy anything that I wanted to. And I would see it so clearly in my mind that I could walk in and I wouldn't even look at the price tag. I could just go do a thing. It's funny because when I was 18, I thought that was 2 years away. And the reality is it was about, 20 years away, because that is the life I live today. I don't really shop in Beverly Hills. There is a very beautiful Ralph Lauren store that I like to go walk around in, but I don't feel scared to walk into any store there. I am living a life today where I could go in and buy anything I want. And I don't say that to sound like a douchebag, because I know that it can, but I say that because it's the reality. And I think many of us are working for a life where we don't have to worry about how to pay bills. We don't have to worry about, my son has to have orthodontic surgery next week, and dental insurance only covers a small portion of that. And I got the bill yesterday. It's a few $1,000s. And I was like, well, all right, cool. But there are so many people who will have to make hard choices in their life about what they can and can't do, even when it pertains to their kids, even when it pertains to their health, because it's not in the budget. So to work to a place where I don't have to worry about how I'm going to take care of my kids feels really good, which is why I tell you that story, because once upon a time, even though I didn't have the courage, even though I wouldn't have felt comfortable being in that kind of environment, I would go there in the middle of the night. I would go there when nobody was around. Like, if you are living in a cruddy part of town and you dream of living in a better part of town, maybe you dream of, renting a beautiful little bungalow, or maybe you dream of owning your own home in a better area, go walk the neighborhoods, go walk the streets, go be in the spaces that you want to inhabit comfortably when you are further along in your journey. I am telling you, something magical happens when you get in those spaces on the regular. You see how people behave, you see how people dress, you see how people carry themselves, you see what they're doing, you see how they're acting. And it gives you clues, it gives you breadcrumbs, it gives you ideas for things that you can do, for concepts you can try, for literary agents you can reach out to in the future. You make connections, you're able to network. So whatever the future version of you is going to be doing in 5 years or 6 months or 10 years, whatever I said that tracks with you, do what you can with what you've got. I don't want you to go into debt. I don't want you to spend money you don't have, but put yourselves into those environments. I remember Jesse Itzler telling this story when he was on the podcast, where he said he wanted to be in environments where people were like making deals. And he realized that lunch at the Beverly Hills Hotel, I don't know why Beverly Hills is coming up so much today, but lunch at the Beverly Hills Hotel was like where everything was happening when he was coming up in business. But he couldn't afford the Beverly Hills Hotel lunch. But he realized that he could go get a salad and a water and sit at a table and be in that room. He realized that it would put him in that environment with people who were making deals so that he could network and talk to them and see how they behaved. There are ways to game this system. There are ways to hack the life that you want to have. But if you want to act as if, you have to have some concept of what that looks like. And getting inside of environments is, man, it is the quickest way I know of to get that result. I would love to challenge you guys. If anything I said in today's episode resonated with you, I would love to challenge you to get in an environment where you are living like the person that you want to be. Before I let you guys go today, I wanted to tell you something really cute that happened this morning with Noah. I told you all, got up early. She got up with me. Because that's the thing, right? When we decide to get up early, that's when our kid's like, I will also wake up at 5:30. So she did that this morning, and I'm like, cool, whatever. I'll just still go about my routine. And, she did her thing and made her breakfast and whatever. I go to the gym. She's with her big brother. I go to the gym. I come back from the gym about an hour later, and I walk in. She says, how was the gym, Mom? And I was like, honestly, girl, it was really hard today. It was really hard because it was my body. It just hurt. It hurt to do it. I did way lower weights than I normally do. I really focused on just stretching and moving, but my body's inflamed. So that was hard today, and it was really hard to do my workout. And I kind of said it in like a grumpy sort of way. And she looked at me. She's like, "That's okay, because we can do hard things, right, Mom? We can do hard things." And it so touched my heart that this little 8-year-old girl is encouraging me, but also that the stuff I say gets through. Like, that was so freaking huge today. I was just like, you know what? Every once in a while, the things that we say to these kids over and over and over and over, it's resonating. And you know it's resonating when you're teaching it to someone else. Meaning, they say if you really want to understand a concept, you teach it. And this morning, Noah taught me. Noah used the knowledge that she had to encourage me in that space. And it just it really touched my heart. So I wanted to say that to any of you who are parents. It gets through. Keep saying the thing. Keep talking to them about it. Keep pushing them to be a better version of themselves. Keep seeing the good in those babies. Keep encouraging them because it does permeate. Doesn't always seem like it, but it really gets in there. Yeah, I loved that reminder today. I thought maybe some of you could use it too. I hope you are enjoying our new content and our new rhythm for the show. I would love it if you would share this with a friend or share it on your social or get the word out. We will be back tomorrow with another episode. And until then, as always, guys, I love you and I'm rooting for you. The Rachel Hollis podcast is produced by me, Rachel Hollis. It's edited by Andrew Weller and Jack Noble.
With Target, you can get back to school supplies delivered when you want it. Like today. Pens and markers? Check. Folders? Got it. Snacks, sneaks, and backpacks? Yup, right to your door. Or your classroom. For all of the above, it's back to school at Target.
At Capella University, learning online doesn't mean learning alone. You'll get support from people who care about your success. Like your enrollment specialist, who gets to know you and the goals you'd like to achieve. You'll also get a designated academic coach who's with you throughout your entire program. Plus, career coaches are available to help you navigate your professional goals. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.